Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we'll be talking about the hero BALMOND. BALMOND's passive is Bloodthirst, which allows him to recover 5% of his max HP when he kills a creep or a minion, and 20% when he kills an enemy hero. BALMOND's first skill, Soul Lock, makes him charge forward, dealing damage to enemies. If he hits an enemy, he will stop in his track and the enemy will be knocked back and slowed for a period of time. BALMOND's second skill is his main source of damage. Its Cyclone Sweep makes BALMOND swing with his axe, damaging nearby enemies 7 times. Each time an enemy is hit, the next damage dealt is increased by 25% to a max of 100%. BALMOND's ultimate, Lethal Counter, makes him smash his axe in a fan-shaped area in front of him, dealing damage to the enemies within and slowing them down. The more HP that the enemy has lost, the more damage is dealt to the enemy. Therefore, this skill is best used as an ultimate killing technique when enemies are very low. With the introduction of War Axe this season, many fighters, assassins have become much stronger in the current meta, and this is the same for BALMOND. He has become much stronger and used in the EXP lane and even the jungle much more often. One of the reasons why BALMOND is used so often is because of his passive. It makes him very sustainable, and when you couple it with items such as War Axe or Bloodlust Vamp, his second skill deals a lot of damage and gives him a lot of health when he regens. I would personally like to say that BALMOND can play any single role within the entire map, but he is definitely best suited to playing the EXP lane, as well as playing the jungler in the current meta because of the fast speed that he is able to farm jungle creeps with. This is my emblem and build for BALMOND. BALMOND's core items are War Axe and Bloodlust Axe. War Axe provides the cooldown reduction and more sustainability for him, as well as increasing his physical attack using its passive. Bloodlust Axe gives BALMOND Spell Vamp, which when coupled with his second skill or his ultimate actually gives him a lot of health back when he damages his enemies. Use that together with the Spell Vamp ability on the Fighter emblem and you will make BALMOND a very sustainable hero. His defense items are fairly standard. Brute Force Breastplate is for him to run around the map a little bit better. Queen's Wings actually increases his Spell Vamp ability when he is in low health. Immortality and Athena's Shield are just there to provide a little bit more sustain and make him a little bit more tanky. The best spell when using BALMOND in the EXP lane is the spell Execute. I personally feel that Execute is very useful because it allows BALMOND to actually deal damage to a certain level before he can just press the button and then execute the enemies, and it's very useful especially when you're fighting against enemies with shields such as Esmeralda or Jawhead. Execute also procs BALMOND's passive, so when you use Execute you actually gain HP from killing the hero. Flicker is also another useful spell because you can use it to run away when you're in a pinch. You can also surprise your enemies by using your Flicker, first skilling them so you can slow them down before damaging them with your second skill, or you can also do the Flicker trick with your ultimate. Finally, the last spell that I would recommend for BALMOND is Petrify. You can use your first skill into the enemies, petrifying them before using a second skill to deal massive amounts of damage to them since they can't run away from you. And now, without further ado, let's get into the gameplay.
Welcome to Mobile Legends.
When BALMOND goes into the goal lane and it faces off against an assassin or a marksman, I like to be a bit more aggressive so that I can force the marksman to actually give up some of the minions within the wave. When you're fighting against a Jawhead on your enemy team, always be aware of your red buff because that's the buff that the Jawhead will invade to steal if you do not take care of it. Even though you're fighting against a squishy enemy, don't always get greedy and try to get the kill. Here I got greedy and underestimated the tower's damage and died an early death. When you get a chance to take the bonus goal from the tower in the early game, always do so because it can give you an advantage in the early game and help you snowball into the later game. Here I was trying to bait out the Claude and I saw that he used his second skill in the grass so that he could provide vision for himself. One of the good reasons why it's important to know how your enemy's hero skills are is because I recognized that the Claude actually used his second skill and he transported into the grass, which is why I went in for the kill, knowing that he had no escape ability. Here, as I saw that I had a full minion wave to actually get health off, I didn't go back to recall. Instead, I tried to take the minion wave so that I could regen some health. I tried to steal the Lord using my ultimate, but I was just a tad too late. When you're playing as an EXP laner and there's no big action going on, you should always try to push your lane, especially if you're already a tower down. If you actually push the lane, it forces the enemy to come and defend their towers, and they're not able to gank as a team as much because they need to defend the tower. Honestly, here I should have just used my ultimate and shouldn't have used my first skill to go in instead. Instead, I auto-aimed and I missed both of them and I died in the end. In this game, you can actually see heroes that are very good to counter against BALMOND because BALMOND is very reliant on his skills to actually gain regen. All these CC heroes such as Popo and Jawhead can actually counter BALMOND quite hard because he's not able to use his skills. Like I said, when you're down, always try to push your tower so that you can actually force your enemy to come and defend instead of continuously ganking you and extending their lead. Even though our jungler was dead, I still thought that we could actually take the Lord without actually going back to heal because we had 3 regen heroes in Paquito, Balmond and Sylvana. But I totally misjudged how long my ult would take to charge and we didn't steal the Lord. Here I waited in the grass for a little while before coming out because I knew Cyclops' second skill would hit me if I come out, and my ultimate was only up in another 2 more seconds. So sometimes you should always assess when is the best time for you to engage, especially when you don't have your skills.
Monster kill.
Always pay attention to the map. Here the Saber actually ran away, but if you look at the map you can actually see him going into the grass, so I actually went over and ulted him. And I guess I was right, but he managed to run away still. Always be aware of your towers, because here I saw that nobody was going back and our tower was getting decimated, so I decided to recall.
Initiate retreat. Attack the Lord.
In this kind of situation where all you need to do is zone out the hyper with the retribution, the Sylvana decides to ult the marksman. Granted, it was my fault that I missed the ultimate again because I mistimed it, but definitely if you are trying to steal the Lord and you have the numbers advantage, zone out the enemy so that you can try to steal the Lord.
Enemy has been slain. Your base is under attack. Killing spree. Okay. Team destroyed the turret.
In this kind of cases where you have Sun, the ultimate tower pusher, and you have heroes like Balmond and Sylvana and Paquito can soak up damage, just focus on your tower so that you can end the game quickly. When you're fighting against a Zilong in the early game, there's no need to be so aggressive because he can actually flip you into the tower, which is quite dangerous at a low level. The reason why I try to stay near the tower without actually poking Zilong is because I want to get the bonus gold that the minion gets for me when hitting the tower. Zilong's CC skills are actually quite painful in the early game, especially when he gets to flip you over. Couple this with the gang from the Roger over here, my defense is reduced and I cannot actually run away, so this is the first blood. This is where execute comes in very handy. If you left a little bit of HP that you need to kill the enemy, you can actually use it in combination with your ulti. This was honestly very poor map awareness from my own team's Hyper. She probably didn't know that we were having a team fight, and if she didn't know that we were having a team fight, she also didn't know that the turtle was available for taking, and she didn't focus on actually taking the objective.
Attack the turtle. Sorry.
This teamfight proves the power of map awareness, so the enemy knew that they were going to engage in the teamfight and came to gank, but my team's top laner and my Hyper were not aware that there was any teamfight going on. We continued taking jungle monsters, which made very little sense, especially for Masha. She should have instead been pushing the tower if she didn't want to help out in the teamfight. So here you can see that my Hyper showed that her bloody retribution was ready in 18 seconds, which means that she used her retribution just on the blue buff before that she was trying to take without helping the team fight, which did not make a lot of sense because turtle was up and she could have taken her blue buff comfortably without even using her retribution. Here I made a bad decision to go in and engage the Zilong. I didn't expect him to have execute, but this was my fault totally. When fighting against Green, all you need to know is when her dashes have been used. So here I saw that she used her second skill, including the second phase, so there will be quite a bit of cooldown before she can actually use the skill again. So I actually went in safely for the minions, knowing that she cannot jump on me. But after a while, you need to be aware and then be ready to time your own dashes to avoid her dash so that she cannot out you. I really cannot stress the importance of aiming your skills because here I didn't aim again and I didn't manage to steal the red buff, which I should have. The key to playing a side laner is basically to farm, and then you push your tower, and then you join a team fight to gank, and then you place yourself in a better position so that you can come back and push the tower again, and then you go and gank again. Once you're close to taking down a tower and your minions are still there, there's actually no need to finish taking the tower because you know that the enemies might come for you. Here, even though my lane was free for pushing, but I actually saw that the enemy Hyper was in the top lane trying to steal the turtle, which is why I went for his blue buff to try to delay his farm. Tiger and Veil's skills are very one-directional, so they basically, once they've used it, they cannot actually change the direction of things. So always be aware of that and sidestep their skills. Here I got very lucky because the Tigreal actually pushed me out of Guinevere's dash and prevented me from getting outed by her. That's probably one of the disadvantages of playing with a Tigreal on your team. Execute is a very useful spell in this kind of team fight because you can actually proc Balmond's passive and get a kill by using Execute to steal kills off enemies that you probably wouldn't have a chance to. Using Execute will give you that health boost and then you can probably stay alive for a little bit more in the game. With 3 of the enemies down, including their enemy jungler, it was the best time for us to take Lord, especially with heroes like Balmond and Marsha. Please, 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 if you're playing a hero like Marsha, Sun or Zilong who are objective taking monsters, please know when your team is taking the objectives and come and help, because your help would definitely benefit the team more than if you're trying to take the enemy jungle. Please don't be like me and stand in the middle of the enemy territory while choosing your items to buy. The only reason why I did this was because I had already bought Athena's shield before this and I knew that the Veil would out me if I just stood there, and I was pretty sure that I would be tanky enough to soak up that damage. I think mages make use of the blue buff more than Balmond, which is why I gave up the blue buff to Chang'e here. When your Lord is out, what you should try to do is to push all the lanes equally, so that your enemies have to divide themselves so that they can defend each lane properly instead of choosing one lane to particularly defend, which they are doing right now in the middle lane. So the only reason why I try to bait the enemies to attacking me is because I knew that my teammates were nearby. But my teammates didn't even bother trying to help me. The Marsha just stayed in the grass the whole time and didn't bother using her S2 to prevent them from attacking me. Please don't play this like me and assume that Balmond is a 1v5 hero. He's not as durable as heroes such as Yu Zhong, because once he gets controlled, he basically can't do anything to proc his skills and will probably just die. It was dinner time. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like and subscribe and click the notification bell and join my Discord if you want to talk to other people about Mobile Legends.